See, the agenda is almost like we're having a hearing. So we'll go through the motions if y'all don't mind. We'll start with the prayer and the pledge, and then we'll go into the rest of the agenda. Commissioner Martin, would you please lead us in a prayer, sir?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this place where we can gather and discuss the county business. And Father, we just ask that you help remind everyone that we do what will be in the best interest of all the county. And Father, we just ask that you bless us to your service. And as the pastor said this morning, let us all come here with open minds and open hearts to discuss business. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Yeah, I have some public comment. We're going to move to agenda item number 2. We have one person signed up for public comments, Ms. Casey Brown. Ma'am, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, she has something she's going to pass out for y'all. Hi, I'm Casey. I am the director of the Child Advocacy Center that serves the 81st District. We are here today just because we sent a letter a few weeks ago requesting to possibly be considered as a part of the budget. And so we just briefly wanted to highlight what we do and why we're sending that request. Child advocacy centers are written into the Family Code to help provide services to children who have been victims of crime. And so primarily sexual abuse is the highest percentage of cases that we see, but we also work with kids who have suffered from physical abuse and neglect, have possibly witnessed crime, domestic violence, so forth, whatever might come through our door. And we do that with a variety of services. Forensic interviewing was the key service that kind of started the Child Advocacy Center model off. And then we've got our family advocates who are tasked with advocating for these families and kiddos from the moment they walk through our door till they no longer need us anymore. We have trauma-based therapists in every one of our offices in the 81st District, all the way down to LaSalle County, who are charged with providing trauma-based care to these kiddos, who most of them come in suffering from some form of PTSD. And then we have our sexual assault nurse examination program. We're partnered with Children's Hospital of San Antonio, where their child abuse medical team provides all of our forensic nurse examinations and reviews of cases that could possibly be going to trial. And then we have our multidisciplinary team, which was another core function of child advocacy centers, which is where we come together with all the law enforcement we're partnered with, which for Wilson County, we're partnered with Wilson County Sheriff's Office. And we meet once a month to review all the cases that have come in and to discuss the needs of the case, what might be there. We've got everybody at the table that's involved in that investigation. We've got law enforcement, district attorney, county attorney, child protective services, us, and anybody else involved. And we do that all for free for every one of the kiddos that comes through the door. They'll never see a bill for anything that they might need from us. So thank you for considering us for your budget. That's the fastest I've ever talked. So thank you.
Thank you.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Rubin, you want to start us off?
Yes. Okay, so all of you should have signed in. If you haven't, the clerk's office has a clipboard here for department budget presentations. Everyone will get 10 minutes to do your presentation, and then the court will have an additional 10 minutes if needed to ask questions and get clarification. I'm going to go ahead and get started just to give an overview of what we're looking at. Okay, the first one I am speaking to on behalf of Ray Herrera, the VSO officer for Wilson County. He could not be here this week, but he did have a meeting with the judge and I to present his request. So I told him that I would share his request with you. He is currently requesting
help. He wants to add a position in his department. Not an assistant veteran service officer, but something to that nature that would help with a lot of the administrative side of the work to do. He did give some copies of duties, but I told him what would be best is for him to create a job description, to get with Jalen, create a job description so that we could get a title put to it so that we could determine what type of salary he would be looking at. I don't know if he's done that with you or not, Jalen.
What is his fund number?
1200.0405. Yes.
He is wanting to call it the Veterans Support Staff, so that is what his
So
title is.
veterans support staff. And again, that's going to be to free up some of his time doing a lot of the data entry, answering phone calls, and going out when Ray has events, doing case management while off-site as well. In addition to that, Mr. Ardetta is requesting an increase in his conference expenses. He currently has, we actually increased it this fiscal year to $1,500. Prior to Mr. Ardetta, there was very little money in the budget. There were no conferences being attended, but because of Ray's, what does he have to keep? His to stay licensed and credentialed as a VSO. He's requesting an increase for a total budget of $6,000 in conferences. And that is so that he can attend the national conference and the state conference. Judge and I did ask him if those were required. The national is not required, but the state is required for him to maintain his credentialing. He's also asking for his current salary right now is $52,000. Last year, he said that he requested $60,000 and did not get it. He's asking for a salary increase to $65,000, and he would also request that his title be changed to Veteran Service Director. He also asked about creating a fund, a special fund just for the Veterans Department, which I told him that is not something that the county would do because by statute, the VSO money as part of the county budget would fall in the general fund. So he was questioning, well, what happens when he gets donations specifically for the VSO? And the way that operates, just like if money comes into the county, I have to certify that revenue in court. We accept the money, it goes back into the general fund, and all donations are used to offset the budget for whatever department is receiving that. Same thing if the sheriff receives, I think the sheriff receives donations sometimes, it goes into the bucket to help offset expenses. With adding the additional personnel that he's requesting, that would also increase his office supplies and office equipment and furniture. He would need to buy an additional printer, desk, chair, computer, and then their VetPro software would go from 1 license to 2 license. So that would go from $600 to $1,400 for VetPro, and then any requesting the increase for office equipment and supplies from $2,750 to $5,000. So any questions on?
You can get a number for the veteran support staff.
I don't know.
Until
We
he
don't know
has
a
the
number.
job description.
Yeah,
What is his current salary at?
his is at $52,000. Mhm. Any other questions regarding that? Okay, then I'm going to move on to item 2. This is really mainly for informational purposes only. This year, I'll be creating a new department within the budget for the Wilson County Historical Commission. By statute, the county should be managing the budget and the funds for the commission. So I met with Clay Mackel and Mr. Delgado and with Nikki Storr as well. I am recommending that once the department is established, that Ms. Nikki Storr, who's our library director, but is also a board member on the commission, be the one who manages and oversees that department budget as a county-paid personnel. We will be creating a revenue line item and an expense line items for the department. Any money that is donated to the commission would then come and be receipted by our county treasurer, and specifically for that fund. All of the funds would be used there. And then the general fund basically would then offset any differences that need to be made to maintain the budget for the commission. Now, the commission this year is requesting, for the new fiscal year, they are requesting, they don't have one yet. Yes. Oh, here we go. Okay, and I believe this is something that you had already approved, but the Daughters of Republic 250 Patriot marker for $5,555. They are also requesting training funds in the amount of $1,600, and that's for 2 of the historical commissioners to attend the Texas Historical Commission Conference. I did speak with Nikki about that as well. She said she would be one of the people that would be attending, but training funds for $1,600, $300 for printing of like Texas Ranger bios and any other kind of printing needs that they need, for a total requested of $7,455 in expenses. Once the department is set up, I'm sure there's going to be other line items that will need to be created. We just don't know what that's going to look like yet. In terms of expenses and how that's going to work, I spoke with Clay last week. The way they're currently doing it now is anybody who attends conferences, they basically, it's on a reimbursement basis, so they turn in their receipts and the commission turns around and writes them a check to offset. What I recommend that we do is that they would follow the same procedures that everyone else here does, that if they are going to request reimbursement for any conference, that they abide by the county travel policy. And everything else would be on a reimbursement basis after receipts are turned in and reviewed by my office. Nikki, is there anything else on the commission? So we currently have a part-time employee. Her name is Sandra Smith. Right now, she's under the library's budget part-time, but her hours are dedicated to the commission side of the work. The county funds that right now. Sandra, I think, works 20 hours a week right now, if I'm not mistaken. So the idea would be to move then that position under the new department, under the commission's budget, that department budget, which would then free up that salary that's currently being coded to the library's budget. And then Nikki has a request for the use of that money. So I'll let her talk about that when it comes up to her time. So that's pretty much it on that. So any questions regarding that? We did budget $1,710 in this current year's budget as a donation to the Historical Commission. When I spoke with Clay Mackel, and Clay is their treasurer, by the way, so that's why I've been speaking with him. When I spoke with him last week, because it was requested by Anthony Delgado, who's the president, for us to issue the check, in speaking with Clay, I said, well, are we going to write the check, and then y'all are gonna turn around and give it back to us because we're gonna create the new department that's being funded by the county anyway, to which he agreed. So there will be no payment of 1710 coming out of this year's fiscal budget to the Historical Commission, because with the establishment of the new department, the majority of it's gonna be funded by the general fund anyway. So, any questions on that? Okay. And then the last thing that I have is something for your consideration that I briefly mentioned to Judge Whitman. I am proposing that the court consider hiring a project manager for Wilson County that would report to the county judge or commissioner's court. The reason I'm recommending this is we currently have several projects, which include the Emergency Operations Center, the Shelter of Last Resort, the Hazard Mitigation Plan, different county road projects, all of our bids, material fuel, our architect bid, health, casualty, workers' comp, et cetera. And all of that work is right now is being administered by my office. And it's taking away from what the auditor's office truly is designed and what we're supposed to be doing, right? We're supposed to be out auditing offices and doing cash counts, and we can't do that because between Kristen and I, we're spending all of our time managing all of these projects. So I'm proposing that the project manager would assume responsibility over all of these projects in addition to future county bids and projects. This would include creating all the scopes of work, altering all the bid packets to meet the project needs, scheduling and meeting with vendors, preparing all the publications, sending out notices, communication to vendors. My office would only handle all of the financial portions of the projects, including grant reporting and reimbursement requests in conjunction with the project manager. The project manager would also ensure that all procurement statutes are being followed, perform the bid tabulations, and ensuring the conflict of interest statements are being completed and updated as needed. Again, it would not fall under the auditor's office. This would be a position that would report to the county judge or county commissioners. As we continue to grow and our projects are growing, unless we add another staff member to the auditor's office under procurement or purchasing that would handle all of this, I don't know how much more we can add to our plate to continue as we grow the county with additional projects. So any questions on that?
I'll make a comment. I think the appropriate thing is to have a purchasing agent, because that's really kind of what 99% of that job is. I wouldn't expect that you're going to have a person that's going to go out there and inspect anything or
Correct.
anything like that, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean,
And
that
it's,
makes more sense, because
yeah,
that way they work directly with, they know who, if it's a grant project or this, if there's.
right. And you see it done, set up different ways in different counties. Some have a purchasing manager or purchasing agent that falls under the auditor's office. Some have it where purchasing is completely separate from the auditor's office. I don't care either way. I just know that we can't do it with Kristen and I by ourselves at this point. And so there's a lot of work currently to be done, and I can only, foresee it that it's going to continue to grow. So I don't want something to get left behind. That's all I have. Do you have any other questions about that? Okay. If not, next on the list is Samantha Shannon with the Ag Extension Office.
Oh, okay. She wants you to try.
I haven't said anything yet.
Okay, are y'all ready? Good afternoon, all the great things. Yep. Oh, yes, that's smart. You good? Okay. So good afternoon. First of all, we just wanted to thank y'all for your continued support with Extension. And we've had the opportunity to meet with each of you individually and together. So y'all already know our requests. So the first one, we're asking to increase our conferences and dues, our travel to $8,500. As y'all know, Allison and I are gone an average of 30 to 40 nights a year. Nicole is gone anywhere from 20 to 25 nights a year. We normally can get state rate at the hotels. That's what we try to do. But as y'all know, state rate has increased. So that's, nothing new there. The second thing is we're just asking for a smaller truck. As y'all know, we have a giant truck that sometimes isn't the most convenient when we're trying to move the 4-Hers around or go pick up 4-H projects like the birds and whatnot, and just something smaller that makes a little more sense for our office dynamics right now. And then the third, we're gonna let Sandra speak on that part, but is essentially to increase our office manager salary.
Hello, I'm Sandra Martinez. I've been working with the county for 17 years. 12 years have been as part-time, 5 years as full-time. And I come before you to try to consider in a job title change and an increase in my pay. I am currently the office manager, and I would like for you to consider the chief deputy position for me, and with pay, of course. I do work under 3 agents. We have 3 agents in our office. They each have different fields that they cover. I assist each and every agent with all the projects and events and anything they need. And again, they do not do the same thing, so it's totally different for each. Also, I want to let you know that in our past and present, agents have requested the increase for me, and it hasn't happened. I want to just let you know, it's been mentioned that we are not an elected official's office, and I understand that. But we also provide to the community education, we help the youth and the seniors, and all that funnels through me. It starts with them, but it funnels through me. And I just want for y'all to take consideration into what our office provides. And I understand we are not elected, an elected official's office, but it's something that I would appreciate if y'all could take into consideration. Also, in the past, when we've been without agents, I have been instrumental in continuing and doing programming with the agents that are there. And since I've been there so long, I know a lot of what happens in our office with the agents, with the programming and all that. So I have been able to help the incoming agents as well. So I just want to let you know to please take that into consideration. Okay?
Do you oversee, do you supervise anyone in your?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I supervise our part-timer, our part-time staff. And if there's any issues, then I do go to Nicole, who is our court coordinator. Any other questions?
I just want to, because I talked to Nicole and I suggested to her that maybe that somewhere in the county, does anybody need that pickup that they've got? Do we need it in maintenance, or is that, well, I know, let's see, because that is only a crew cab truck, right? If I remember right, yes. So that's kind of we approved a leasing program this morning, so I don't know.
I believe it's on the list of our vehicles for Judge and I to review of possibly swapping out. So that's a good recommendation. If there is another department that may need that bigger one, but they are on the radar for consideration of selling that vehicle and replacing it with this one.
Yeah. And Kurt?
So
I'm sorry.
Tell them what you want them to do, because I know we just started this morning, and I'm not sure I know what to do, because I think you're going to need to get with, because they
Yeah.
need to get an appointment with Enterprise Leasing. They need to come up with a number for you for her to put in the budget.
So what we shared with Enterprise is that Judge has the list of what we're considering the white fleet. So everybody who has a vehicle, which theirs is part of that group, that's being reviewed by the judge, then we'll give that list to Enterprise for them to give us the pricing on it. So it is being included. I do have a question regarding the request for the increase in the conferences. When we look at budgeting, I always look at historical data, right? And I did the same thing last year. And maybe you can help us understand it. So going back 5 years, in 2020, of course, that was COVID, but there was $2,900 spent in conferences. The following year, it was $3,700. In 22, it was $4,800. 23, it was $6,600. And right now, year-to-date, you're at $3,800. I don't see, I mean, when you average all of that out, it's not $8,000 a year. So I'm trying to get an understanding of what, and I know when I spoke with Nicole about it last year and previously, she mentioned about not being fully staffed, but y'all have been fully staffed at one point in the last 5 years. Y'all have been fully staffed with everybody
Not-
attending conferences.
Not for an entire year.
But I'm saying at some point, maybe even prior to you, so when you had the other extension agent, his name was Brian, though?
Yeah, no. So I came in 2021. So that 2020 year, which was also COVID, was the year that Brian, like his last year.
That's what I'm saying. Prior to 2020, when Brian was here, the office was fully staffed. So I'm trying to understand what conferences back then, so say 2018, 2019, when it was a much lower budget, sufficed for the department as compared to now. Because 8,000 to what it was 5 and 6 years ago is completely
I would
different.
think that that's,
But I guess the question is though, is it conferences or is it overnight travel time? Because there's some overnight travel that's not conference related.
it's all of, that account, that line is all of ours. So whether it's conference dues, travel, overnight, we only have the one line item. So that's all of our stuff right then and there. And I think to the flip side to that is just the rising cost of everything. I mean, nothing cost what it did in 2018, and that can be said for dues, conferences, travel, hotel. I mean, you name it, and everything's increased.
You want them to give you something justifying that number?
No, I mean, I can only go based on the actual.
Well, right, I know, and I'm with you, I
dollars, so-
agree, because I look at what
Yeah.
has somebody been spending? And so that's the big question.
Well, I know
You're
we've
asking-
we've been sitting and showing, what we've got going on and how much we've spent or showing and to show the different events that we're attending, what's being paid, what the registration costs are. So, I mean, it's there.
Maybe what might be
But I guess to
helpful
her,
for
but here, let
commissioners.
me help you. With her point, though, there's less than 3 months left in this year, and you've got quite a bit of money to spend. Is there some big-ticket items coming up that we
Yes.
just don't see?
Yes.
Okay.
I just spent $1,000 in Dallas for a national conference.
So I guess what would be helpful for the commissioners to know is all of these conferences and trainings and traveling that you're doing, are they required conferences and trainings that you have to have in order to maintain your department or your status, or, because every elected and appointed conference offices, because they are required by statute to have a certain amount of continuing education credit. So that would be helpful to know as well, is are we paying $8,000 a year so that y'all can attend as many conferences and trainings because you want to be there or because you have to be there?
Most of it's definitely because we have to be there. There's a standard we need to obtain, and that's by going to these conferences, or they're required for work to attend these contests and different things like that. And part of this, I know, I haven't read it, but it's part of the MOU that was signed between the university and then the county as well, as, part of the split funding for our positions and stuff. And we can get y'all with Michael Haynes, our DEA, for further questions on that.
Do you know how that plays a part in, because Nicole gets a travel allowance of, I believe it's $6,000 a year right now. Does that have anything to do with, is that money being used to utilize toward your conferences and travel?
I think that's just for her, her own travel, because Allison and I have the P card.
How much does A&M kick in?
I don't know the exact numbers because it's done through a formulation and whatnot, and each one of us is very different based off of years of experience, education, and then our area as well.
Does that funding come to us through the general fund and then we build their budget?
No.
So
But-
that's a separate fund that we don't, that's a separate thing that we don't see. Commissioners don't get.
Essentially, because we're also paid through the state and the county. And like I said, and that's something that you might be able to have that conversation with Michael, and he can show you that breakdown between the three of us agents, and, because like I said, our pays are across the board not the same.
But they don't cover any of your conference and travel.
No, and that is part of the MOU that the county signed with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension.
We pay for all of the travel and all the conferences?
Yes.
I don't know, Commissioner, because I've never seen that MOU, so do y'all have a copy of it?
I'm sure we can find it, but like I said, we can get y'all with Michael.
Do you have their number for the budget?
Do I have what, I'm sorry?
Their line item number for the budget?
I do. What number are you looking for?
I'm looking for them. I've been
Oh,
digging
their
through.
department 665,
665.
1200.0665.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is that budget up to date, what you're reading?
I'm looking at it live right now.
Okay, okay.
Well, does it include the bills that were paid this morning or not?
Not yet, right now, they have.
So if it was approved this morning,
So,
then it's not.
well, right
in there.
now, we show on a budget of $6,000 that they've got $5,074.28 that's been expended.
They've expended 5,000? Okay.
She just spent another $1,000.
Well, that would be whatever's included, yeah. Surely y'all wouldn't go over budget, but.
Because Nicole's at her conference.
Right
this
now,
week.
yeah.
Then we have another one next week, and then I have mine the week after that. So we have bigger purchases.
So they're asking for 8,000 plus the 6,000 that Nicole gets?
No, oh, yes, so Nicole gets a $6,000 travel allowance that's paid to her through her payroll, in addition to her hourly rate that she get, or her, is she salary or hour? In addition to her salary, she gets $6,000 a year
Yeah,
in
that's for vehicle.
travel allowance. Which I'm guessing that's used to offset like her mileage or whatever.
Right, because
That's
she's
correct.
using her
That's correct.
personal vehicle.
Yeah.
Any other questions for them?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next is Olga.
Olga.
Olga Marrero.
Here, we can just pass them down.
Hi, good afternoon, Judge, Commissioners. I'm here just to request an increase in salary for my staff. We have had, in the year, we've had 10 elections that we've done. We've contracted with the nearby entities. And we've been very busy. And this is just a comparison of pretty much equivalent, sort of like to the registered voters that we have.
Good data, thank you, Olga.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Baby had questions for you. No, I was just telling you, thank you for the data.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Olga.
Next is Judge Hartman, County Court of Law.
Good afternoon. I have two big requests for mine. We're about 9 months into the budget, and I know it was kind of a whole new world, creating the county court at law and then trying to set a budget. I've gone through the expenses and looked at where we kind of are after 9 months versus where we thought we'd be, and submitted my suggestions to reallocate some of the money, so that way it's more reflective of where it's actually being spent. In doing that, though, there's two things that I want to request. One is, right now, I only have a part-time court coordinator / assistant. If anybody's been to the courthouse, we are holding court more. We are trying more cases, and so I'd like to take her all the way full-time with me. I've been sharing her with HR and honestly probably taking her way more than what I should be from HR. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of how much she is working just for me in the county court at law. I had her calculate her average calls per week for the last 6 months, and she's averaging 180 to 220 calls per week, and they increase whenever we have a week of jury trials. So that comes out to about every 10 to 12 minutes she's getting a new call in, and that doesn't include the time that she's on them. So I'm keeping her pretty busy just working for me. She has summoned 7 juries this year already, and since October, and we've tried 4 jury trials already, which I think is 4 times more than what they used to. So we are keeping her very busy in that respect, and that is just with doing criminal and juvenile right now. That's not even including in my civil stuff. One of the requirements for a county court at law is the Texas Government Code, Section 74.106, says if you work for a district court or a county court at law, which is a statutory county court, then they're required to complete the 16 hours of education. So I sent her to the training provided by the Texas Center for Judiciary, so she has that done. So that has to be done within 12 months of coming to work for an attorney judge. So we've gotten that completed. So I'm asking to get her full-time, and then I'm asking that she be paid at a chief deputy pay, which is the same as what the county judge's executive assistant coordinator makes. I did pull the salaries for the neighboring county court at laws from Guadalupe, Atascosa, and Bear. That's still lower than all of our neighboring counties. So keep that in mind. But I did pull that just to make sure it was a reasonable number. The other thing I'm asking for is, all the departments have been very kind to me here at the courthouse, but we've been borrowing printers and copiers from everybody. So the auditor's office had a copier printer scanner that they didn't need as much, so we are asking for money to take over that contract, and that costs $230 a month. So that comes to just shy of $2,800 a year. So I'm asking to increase the office equipment and furniture by $2,800 to cover that contract. And that was just one of those things where everybody's been kind so far, but I think at some point that needs to be accounted for in our department. The only other, when you look at the expenses after I made the adjustments, moving stuff around, the only other increase was $350, and $250 that was for training. The legislator passed some laws this last time requiring more training in family violence and guardianship for judges, and the other $100 is to go towards my bond. The bond required for this position was higher than what was budgeted, so I want to be sure that we have sufficient money there to cover it. And with regard to training, I have moved some money from non-conference travel to certification and training to help cover it, and asked that that part be increased, but the overall increase is only $250 when I moved everything else around. We have been able to do most of our training at the Texas Center for Judiciary. The cool thing about that is it's grant funded, so they cover most of our hotel and mileage. So the county's paying registration, but if there's a meal there, they cover that. Depending on the travel time, they may cover our meal if we go to dinner, and so that has saved the county a significant amount of money doing that. And that's where I was able to send my assistant to training too. So it reimbursed her mileage. They actually paid for her hotels, so she didn't have to pay it out of pocket. Paid for her meals, and then we just had to pay the registration. Any questions? Okay, thanks.
Next up, we have Simon Cardenas with our maintenance department.
Good afternoon, Judge and Commissioners. I have a request for a pickup truck, preferably a four-door pickup truck, and also need a zero turn. The equipment that we had is run down. We had to bring it out of almost a junkyard and to get it going for the rest of the year. And the equipment that we have, it's in the shop right now. So we borrowed one from the Sheriff's Department. And thank you, sir, for lending us your equipment. That's currently in the shop again. He had got it fixed, now it's in the shop. So we only have a wet lawnmower that he had two blowouts on that lawnmower. So this morning I put 4 new tires on it so I can keep up with the mowing of the county courthouse, the tax office, the library, district court, Lavernia precinct 3, and the library at the in Lavernia, and the whole sheriff's department. It's about 5 acres or more. So I need better equipment that we can maintenance, and after so many hours to get it fixed. I also need a desperately need help. If we can find a full-time person to help us out. 2 people, it's not enough to cover all this, and that's just doing the yard work. I still have to do maintenance on the buildings, painting, lights, fixtures, plumbing, anything that goes with this county here. So I love this county. I love Wilson County, and I want to beautify it, but it's hard to maintain it without no personnel. 2 people is not enough to get this done. So if I can get another person, and that would really help me a lot. So
Would that be a full-time employee that you're?
it would have to be a full-time.
And do you know what kind of salary you would look to pay to that person, or would it be the whatever our base rate starting pay would be?
I would have to get,
Right now, the base rate is $17.24 an hour, or 36,000 a year. is the
yeah.
base rate.
If it could, I want to attract people that want to work. So even a dollar an hour more would be efficient. So we can get people in here, and we want to attract people here.
Just for clarification, commissioners, and I don't know if you, because we haven't officially done it yet, but the judge requested in this the new fiscal year budget, we will be separating the maintenance department and creating a new department for janitorial, or vice versa, because right now the maintenance and janitorial all rolls up into one budget. Simon will oversee the maintenance department, and Tony will oversee the janitorial department and all the staff and supply expenses that go under that. So you're requesting that, you're talking about hiring a full-time staff strictly
For my department, yes.
Yeah, which Jared is the other employee that falls under his department. I have a question. We had budgeted money for this fiscal year to purchase a used vehicle. Did that not happen?
No.
I thought we did.
No, the only thing we purchased with that was a utility trailer to carry the lawnmowers, because y'all never had one.
No, we just bought one.
No, you bought a truck.
Yeah.
Bought a truck.
It was a used truck.
It was used, we paid, yeah.
The janitorial, it wasn't for maintenance.
Or janitorial, or,
Yeah,
okay, you're right.
Yeah.
It's still in the same budget right now.
Well,
We had
at
separate.
that
Yeah,
time,
that's why
it
it's on
was
the same
all
budget,
It's on the
yes.
same
so
budget,
they're all
so
on
it's on the same
The
one.
only thing we bought with that money was a utility trailer that we had, that we didn't have. We had to borrow one from commissioners and the sheriff's department or what have you. But we used it so much that we needed one for ourselves, so we bought one. Either buy a truck for $20,000, which you can't find a decent truck for $20,000, because the one that we have, it's a money pit.
Aren't you using the AgriLife truck right now?
Now we are.
You like it? Well, no, I mean, it's a fair question. You're using it.
Yeah.
Does it fit the need that you have? Because the bottom line is, if nobody wants it, then we sell it, we get what we get for it.
Right.
and then we put you on the leasing deal. But I mean, if it'll work, then we can.
Wha-
just
Whatever's,
put it under
whatever's
your
better,
department.
as long as I have a crew cab, if it turns out to leasing it better, is cheaper, better, let's do it.
So
The thing is, I'm talking about the maintenance on it.
The vehicle that we purchased this year from Prusy's Auto Sales for $11,245, who has that vehicle?
Tony,
Okay.
I just got hand-me-downs, that's all I got.
Join the club, Mr.
Well, it's not handing downs, it's push, we have to push once in a while.
You gotta push it.
Yeah, because it always breaks down, we have to tow it.
Is it a Ford? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fix it, repair it daily.
Oh, the one that the AgriLife has loaned you, is it still operating well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
It's got about
what's it
96?
96,000 miles.
Yeah, 10,000 miles.
No, 96,000 miles.
It's got 96,000.
96,000 miles.
That was a newer truck.
No.
Been fleeted a couple of times.
Then no, then it's not worth keeping. It's worth selling right now and just getting them on a lease.
But,
Wasn't a joke, so.
but as maintenance, I need a four-door crew because I can't afford to put my tools when it's raining in the back, or we go somewhere else and they steal my tools or what have you. Because for at least 4 or 5 months, I've been using my own vehicle, my own truck. And I don't think that was fair, but I have no choice. Either use my vehicle and keep on doing what I'm doing, or I can't just sit there with no vehicle.
You shouldn't be doing that, but.
Well, that's why I'm here. I need a
Get with the
vehicle.
enterprise guy, and, you know, if you want a toenail cover or whatever you want on the back, they can put that in there, so.
On the equipment, are you just requesting 1 zero-turn mower or more than one? And how much are they? And will you be giving me, well, the reason
You
I
really don't
ask-
want to know.
The reason I ask is because I haven't gotten a budget worksheet yet from them, so I don't know what we're talking about.
You could go anywhere between $7,000 and $12,000 for a commercial mower.
Yeah, more than that.
Just bought 2 new Kubotas for $16,000 for zero turn.
If you get a good one, you're gonna pay more around 20.
And Kubota's a better price than the John Deere. John Deere,
Yes, ma'am.
it's
Go to
way
Tractor
higher.
Supply after work today, go look.
Yeah, they're expensive.
And those are not the
Those that
name
you
brands.
paid the
What did that
money
guy
for
tell
will
us the
last you
Skag
long.
was the other day?
If you pay, yeah,
Yeah, a buddy of mine just bought 2 new Kubotas for $16,000 apiece.
they do last a long time.
He's a commercial lawn cutter.
I just want a good mower that will last me that I can
Weren't
take it
you
to get it
needing a
maintenance.
push mower as well?
I need a self-propelled mower. Because we have self-propelled, because I have that hill over here behind the AgriLife that you can't do it with the regular push mower. You need a self-propelled mower.
What kind of mower?
Self-propelled? Yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this, what she's saying is it's maybe cheaper for us to go back and hire somebody to do it. I don't know. And we need to take a hard look at that. I mean, I don't guess you particularly care one way or the other.
You want to answer that?
Well, I mean, because that's
Well-
what I'm
well,
saying.
exactly.
Prior to this year, we had the contract for the lawn maintenance. I mean, if we're looking at hiring additional personnel and buying new equipment, it may be more cost-effective to turn back around and go back to going out for bid for lawn maintenance. So, it just
At this
depends
point,
on-
I'm thinking it is, because you're talking, well, you need if you're gonna split the departments, you're gonna have to buy a pickup truck. But then a lawnmower, well, and then a good push mower is gonna run you 300 or 400, I mean, a self-propelled mower is gonna run you,
About $450, $500, yeah.
yeah. So you're already talking 15+ thousand, and what was the whole?
And we haven't added a person yet.
And we haven't added a person, so you're looking at 50,000 plus benefits, so you're looking at $75,000 to $80,000, $90,000, and that contract was less than that, wasn't it, last year?
40,000.
There you go, that might be the answer. Well, we'll let her run the numbers and make sure, and if we need.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is that whenever the contract was made, they weren't cutting 3/4 of the lawns. Before I started here, Joe was cutting the rest of it that wasn't included in their contract, which was the Camino Real and the area right here where AgriLife is, and half of the sheriff department. They never did that.
Yeah, we would have.
You see? And then they weren't doing the quality of work. If they're going to be doing that, they need to do quality work like we've been doing. with the equipment we have.
That gives you more time to sit there and take care of the painting, the window.
The maintenance and building and everything else, yeah,
We're going after.
yeah.
So that's what you're brought on for is that side. So if we look at the contract and we find out what the contract is, going out for bids, you're back to you and
No, just keep in
Jared.
mind-
Jared.
Just keep in mind
Working.
that lawn maintenance contract, that original pricing was from like 4 years ago. So it may be well over 40,000 by now.
But it
Well-
won't hurt to go out for bids. Just
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to accept them either. So
Right. Well, and we probably should every once in a while just to check that box to see that we're not getting lopsided one way or the other, so.
And if it does go that route, I'd like to, after, every time they come in, I like to go check everything out before they, and have an
Well,
input
right. I
on
mean,
that,
part of it
because,
is nobody was watching them and enforcing them, and then we didn't have a
Right.
person that we could go to and complain. It was kind of up to each individual department, everybody, you know. So, yeah, I mean, and I think that can be fixed now.
like 80% of the time, we're mowing the lawns. Almost every day, we're on the lawns doing all kinds of stuff. Plus, we get stuff to move furniture, lights, ceiling tiles, remove rodents, dead stuff from everywhere. So, it's like, it's a never ending.
And every single person here needs to have somebody on a shredder today and doesn't because of whatever reason.
2 shredders going.
I mean, we're right there,
hire you to
people
do
are,
mine, man.
are calling right now about, it's just what the rain brings.
Yeah.
But to clarify from this, you did add another person to your department. Matter of fact, you probably weren't in charge of the department, or it was right there whenever you came in, whenever we stopped the lawn care, correct? So, I mean, it was evidently a force of one, and now there's 2 in the department since we're splitting.
The intentions were to have it constantly mowed because these guys weren't showing up on time.
Right.
And by the time they got here, you could deer hunt out in the courthouse. That's
Yeah.
how it was. So.
Yeah.
Sheriff, get the chain gang going.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore, can we, Sheriff?
Yep.
It's not that you can, you just don't have enough staff to watch them. You might give the folks here a little worry about that, so. All right. Okay,
So, that's what I have.
okay, sir. Thank you, Simon.
Next up, we have Ms. Nikki Store from the library.
Okay, good morning, or this afternoon, actually. So I have 3 requests that I would like to put before you guys today. The first one has to do with, in continuation with the creating of the new department for the Wilson County Historical Commission. Miss Sandra Smith, so she's part-time, she currently works 20 hours a week. We've tracked all the calls that are coming in and people who are walking through the door looking for history questions, whether it's my grandfather is buried in the Floresville Cemetery, can you help me find them? To, I would like to have information about all of the sheriffs in Wilson County. So the increase has gone up quite a bit, that her 20 hours a week are not covering it. So we would like to be able to increase her to 28 hours. She's not interested in full-time. I don't think a full-time person is needed at this time, but we do need the 28 hours.
That's
We-
per week, right?
Per week. We have looked at rearranging the schedule, because before, when this position was created, the person who took the position was a college student who needed Tuesdays and Thursdays off to go to school. But as you get into your work on Monday, you have Tuesday off, it takes you about half a day to get back into the groove of what you've left off. So this week, or should say this month, we're trying to schedule where she's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so that way all her work can stay, the momentum can keep going. But again, we're not meeting everyone's need who walks through that door, who asks the question, or sends her an email in a timely manner. So that's the first one. The second question, object I'd like to put before you is that the library shares a position 75% library budget and 25% IT. This position was created when John was just by himself, and he needed somebody to be able to service all of the 23 library computers. Mr. Jason Causey has told me that he no longer needs that person. So if we remove Sandra's position, who is the archives person, into the general fund, then I should be able to pick up that 25% from IT for the person who's currently in that position. Her name is Vicki Kimball. Would that be appropriate thing to do?
Yes.
Okay. The third item I have is that this is year number 4 that the library, it won't affect the library's accreditation with the state library. It affects our standing as to whether we are just a public library or are we an exemplary public library. And what that is once our service population reaches over 50,000, which in September, the state library is telling me we're at 52,000, we need another degreed librarian on staff, and it cannot be me. It can be me if I choose to resign and become something else, but I would like to keep my position. So I would like to formally ask for a third degreed Masters of Library Science degreed person to work full-time with us.
At what salary, Nikki?
My counterpart, Nikki Myrick, who does the outreach, I believe she's at 40,000.
Is, pardon my ignorance, but is that the going salary for a degree?
No, it is not. No, it is not.
What is?
Probably 50 to 60 like I make. But the hopes would be for this new person would be able to do the outreach program for adult services, whereas Nikki Myrick, who does the outreach for our teens and younger. And then I oversee all the other 3 branches. But for some reason, all of the webinars I've done with the state library, they say that your director does not fit into that count of the required degree librarians to be considered exemplary. Sorry, that was my
Is
cue
that
to go
gonna
home.
kill us?
No, it doesn't hurt you. We meet all of the requirements for certification. It's just if you want the bragging rights to say, I'm just a public library, or I'm an exemplary public library.
Reading that, what was the
It's,
question?
well, my question was, does it matter? And the answer is no.
No, it does not.
It only matters whether you're an exemplary library or just a public library,
If what matters?
having this third.
Okay, so that was, I was gonna follow up, I didn't wanna ask the same question. So would we be out of compliance by the state if we don't have it?
We are not out of compliance.
Okay, that's what I wanna make sure too. So this is something optional if the county just chooses to be an exemplary
Correct.
library.
We meet all of the other little check boxes. We're open 50 hours a week. We have our collection size is the right amount. You have to have 2 items on your shelf for every person in your county. I think we have like 76, so we're good. Any other questions I can answer?
Just one final, just clarify, by not having the third librarian with the population size we have, that does not affect any, library funding or grants or anything that we get?
No, ma'am.
Seems like I vaguely remember you mentioning something about that last year.
I asked for the same position last year, but From what they've told me, all of our red flags have been cleared. We are cleared for another year of accreditation. It does not limit our grants required or extra training or anything. It's just whether they put you into the plain box or exemplary box. And I've always prided ourselves to be in that exemplary box. This is the first time I don't have that box checked.
Well, we can work to get there, that's,
I'm working on it.
yeah.
We're just not there yet.
I mean, to me, that's kind of ridiculous. To say, all we need you to do to be the next level is spend more money.
Yeah, that, we're not as big as some of them.
You know, we had the grant last year or the year before that covered a library or librarian position. Do you know if that grant application will come back around? Or?
No, it's closed. I've tried to find that because they funded.
We can have our ENCR consulting firm kind of do some research to see if there is any grant funding out there maybe in Washington somewhere that can fund a position and maybe.
If it can slide into another grant source, because would be considered adult services, so the individual that was doing the other librarian for us was a digital navigator. She would help you with your phone, she'd help you with your email, whatever, anything digitally you needed assistance with, this individual would help with, but we don't have her anymore.
And the grant went away.
The grant went away.
Or do you know if they're going to reopen that grant anymore?
It's closed. I've tried.
I mean, like forever?
Mm-hmm. It's closed.
Okay. Any other questions for Nikki?
Okay.
We're going to take care of that sign, right? Next budget, the sign. in
Can
front
we
of the
take it
library.
down?
If you want it down, we can take it down. We can.
Because everybody's building is labeled.
Okay, we can certainly do that. Simon? We get that arranged?
Well, wait a minute. You're talking about the one that says Wilson County Annex, whatever? or-
That's peeling.
You can't even read it.
Can't
Well,
even read.
I know, but I think that may be required. We need to check into that first.
Okay?
Because it just says Wilson County Annex, but everybody's building is
We already
labeled.
have a quote on that to replace it, correct?
Yes.
Just wait for the next budget cycle?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if it's required, we're gonna have to leave it up. But
I don't know that it is, but, I mean, you know, we have to designate what are the annexes, and people don't know what it is if there's not a sign that says that. It doesn't have to be that sign, it could simply be on the brick wall somewhere, just something that might be cheaper than having it on an
Well, it's-
elevated.
Everybody's labeled as far as I
everybody's
know.
labeled on the
It's
wall.
not everybody, it's Wilson County Annex 2 or 3, whatever that building is, not elections, not library, not district court, it's the Wilson County Annex.
So you're just labeling the block, the whole block.
Buildings, the location.
Because there's nothing on the
Those are-
sign that says,
Yeah, there is. It says Wilson County Annex 2 or 3 or whatever that.
Which one, Commissioner? The one that's,
Well, I don't know that, I don't know what sign y'all are talking about.
well, it's the one in front of the library on the main drive.
Yes, then that probably has to stay or be replaced somehow to identify that building as Wilson County Annex 3.
I wouldn't know.
But legal needs to check into that, and if it doesn't, then we can take it down.
Can you direct me of where to go find that? I'll go look it up.
I have no idea. That's why I would suggest you get ahold of Tom or Evelyn.
Did you include that in your budget worksheet?
No, ma'am, I did not. I believe it was supposed to come out of the general fund for that sign, because if it's labeling everybody, it's not just the library.
That's fine, it's,
I did not.
I don't know about it, so I wouldn't include it in the budget if I don't know about it. so.
Right. Oh, okay, we'll talk. Sorry about opening that can of worms on you, Nikki.
Do we have a cost of that?
It was like
It was like
$1,680,
$1,600.
$1,650.
1,600 or?
1,600 for the new sign.
Take the sign down?
No, to put a new sign up.
I got a chain in the back.
Get it down pretty quick. Lighted, and you're gonna have to have electric.
It's not lighted. Mm-mm.
Done deal.
Okay, thank you.
We just need to get somebody that's had too many to drink to drive down that street. We need to funnel them.
Okay, got it, thank you.
if it does need to be redone, can't we just get like the First Source Digital that just made my new emblems for the pickups to
Yeah.
do whatever?
They got a quote.
Yeah, that's what he's saying, like $1,600 to, I mean, that's nothing.
That's a lot of money. I would think you could get that done at a,
Yeah, but it's a plexiglass that's up on top of it's on the brick itself. I mean, you have to go to, it's not just a.
Go to McCoy's and get some stencils. Spray paint, that'll work.
Your man.
Okay,
How many taggers you got, Dale, sir?
Christina Moots, County Treasurer.
I'll wait till they get off. Good afternoon. I am here, one, to talk about, I did increase, I would like to increase one line item on my budget, which would be my conference expense. I have 4 conferences I do attend, as well as my assistant attending with me. I normally don't do reimbursement for mileage or meals or anything like that, but like everybody has said, cost is going up. So that's one thing I did, from $3,000 to $4,000. And then also asking for your consideration for my 2 full-time employees to receive an increase in their hourly rate of pay. My first assistant treasurer, Gabrielle Landrum, and my treasury clerk, Haley Robbie. I've prepared for you a spreadsheet with their current rate of pay, as well as the proposed rate that I'm requesting. Gabby has been with the county since August 2020. A few of her duties consist of the biweekly payroll for the county employees, as well as the election payrolls and the payroll taxes. Insurance deductions that the county has, processing retirement, W-2s, 941s, ACA processing, bank recons, as well as, like I mentioned before, she is attending more of the treasurer conferences with me to learn more. You'll also find, I've noted on there, the local government code 83.009, section 7, where it's required by the state that might not be required in other offices for an assistant, for my county, or excuse me, my assistant treasurer. If you would like that, I have that to read to you. I can honestly say that when I leave my office for vacation, personal work-related events, that Gabby can and has fulfilled the duties that I perform, as well as on top of hers. I know that she maintains the office in my absence. Another thing to keep in mind is, like everybody has said, our county is growing, and also is the payroll and the insurance deductions, and that comes with it. Haley has been here going on 4 years and was hired by the former treasurer, making the base pay with limited duties. She has remained at the base pay, but her duties have significantly increased. The position is solely responsible for managing the expo center, manages all the calendar and all the deposits that come in with the rentals, ensuring that the hall is cleaned and ready for the upcoming events, and then on top of her daily duties as treasurer clerk, which receiving all the money that comes through our office, ensuring that all the required reporting is done on time, handles the hotel motel occupancy tax, and that's just to name a few. I wanted to give you just an overview of her, how much her responsibilities has grown over the longevity with the county. I feel that it's fair to increase her pay to the proposed amount, and because of the significant increase of duties, that she does get paid above the rate amount that we would pay a brand-new hire. Again, I want to thank you for this opportunity and your time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. In a nutshell, I talk fast, or that restarted.
You did all
Yeah.
that in just 8 seconds.
I can do it, trust me. And that was kind of slow. For real. Man, everybody has questions.
Just for clarification, you said that Haley currently is she's still at the base rate?
Yes, ma'am. She has been there.
She started in 2020.
Yes, December of 2020.
That's not really quite the base rate, is it? Or-
17,
Yes.
20, yeah, 17, 20 was. Any questions for us?
Okay, thank you.
Next, our tax assessor, Dawn Burnett.
Hello. So, this is my, y'all hear the same thing from me year after year. I'm not going to go into detail of what my office does. Y'all know what my office does. I do have a hard time keeping my qualified employees. In the past 5 years, the tax accounts for the county have increased by 10,000. That's tax accounts only. With that being said, each of those accounts, and I'm talking subdivisions that are, where people build homes. If you take, say 1,000 of those new homes coming in, that's an extra, 2,000 vehicles possible. It could be even more than that. So not only are we dealing with an additional 10,000 tax accounts, we're dealing with, all of the additional tax, my goodness, my mind just went blank. We're dealing with all of the taxpayers that come with it. Each of y'all know, y'all get the phone calls the same that we do. Yes, everybody complains about having to pay taxes, but, my employees are at the front of this. They are the ones that collect the taxes. They're the ones that do DMV transfers, title registrations. So since I've come into office, I have not requested additional employees. With my numbers, I should be doing that, but my ultimate goal is to get my employees' salaries to where I feel are comparable, making at least $40,000. I'd like to ask for an increase of my chief deputy to be raised to $56,000, my lead customer service specialist to $43,000, and my deputy tax assessor customer specialist to $40,000.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
My chief to $56,000, and I have a spreadsheet I can give you, Brenda. My lead customer service specialist to $43,000, and my deputy customer service specialist to $40,000. From July of 2023 to June of 2024, my office has processed 448,143 transactions. That's just the transactions coming through. So the amount of clerks that I have 9 full-time and 2 part-time. These 11 employees have processed all of those transactions, which add up to over $1 billion. We took approximately 5,400 phone calls. The requests that I've made before y'all would cost less to the county than hiring a new position. I know everybody's wanting new positions, and you have every reason to want that. But when we're hiring these new positions, we're hiring them at higher salaries than what these people that collect all of this tax money and do all of the work for the county are getting paid. To my knowledge, none of the new positions that have been created over the past couple of years have been under 40,000. And I'm just asking to increase my employee salaries to that 40,000 so that I have a better chance of of keeping them once they're trained. I'd also asked for an increase in my overtime budget from 6,000 to 10,000. I use my overtime during tax season for processing tax payments. The mail that comes in, my employees come in on their day off to process tax payments, so that I don't have to have another. I don't have to hire outside people to come in and do that, and so that I get those done in a timely manner. Not only tax payments, but we also have all the return tax statements that come in that need to be done. During tax season, it backs us up on the DMV, so my employees come in on weekends to process title transfers, to get our office caught up, and that is a tremendous help to me, once again, without hiring additional people to do something that we'd have to train them to do. I've mentioned it in previous years, but I'm going to say it again. I have the ability to adjust the fees that my office collects from our taxing entities. I've currently sent out an updated interlocal agreement with each of them to update some wording, and also to let them know that from this point forward, the collection fees will be updated annually. So my goal is, once we get our budget set, I would like to adjust those collection fees for my taxing entities. I'm going to bring it to Commissioner's Court. Of course, all of the interlocal agreements have to come to Commissioner's Court as well, but I'll adjust the fees, bring it to Commissioner's Court. Y'all will make the decision to accept the fees that I'm proposing. I will present those to each taxing entity, and then those will take effect January 1st. This needs to be done annually. It has not been done since 2019. We do currently go off of the levy amounts to calculate their fees. I plan on continuing to do that. Some may go up, some may go down. It just depends on the levy amounts that they have within their jurisdiction. So each position, and I know y'all have heard me say this before too, but I'm going to repeat it. Each position in my office does have a job description. I do performance evaluations every 6 months. Last year, we talked about a stepping stone to bring people in on a set amount and then be able to increase their salaries. I have done this. The newest of my employees I have brought in at $32,000. 3 months, couple months, 2-3 months, they're there. I evaluate them. If they're where I feel they need to be, then I'll give them the raise up to what we have in the budget. The first one that I did that with, she was super excited about that raise. So, I really think this is something the county should consider when hiring, across the board. Because it does boost their morale to, they've been there 3 months. Hey, you're doing a great job. I'm going to go ahead and give you that salary because I have it in my budget to do that. But I need those numbers budgeted to where I don't need them to be dropped down to what I ask, what I want to bring them in at. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't want it dropped down to $32,000 because I want to bring them in at 32, but I want the ability to raise them to what the minimum that we have is. If it could go to the 40,000, that would be tremendous. Like I said, I know everybody's asking for, new positions, but I really hope that you consider looking at these salaries, not only for my office, but for all offices in the county, to bring them up to at least the 40,000, because let's face it, these new positions that were just talked about, you're not gonna bring anybody in at $40,000. And only I know what the employees in my office deal with and have to go through on a daily basis. I'll be the first to say, before I came into that office, I thought it was an easy job. It's not. I have definitely been proven wrong on that one. So, y'all have any questions for me?
How many employees do you have?
I have 9 full-time and 2 part-time. So with myself, I have a staff of 12. With the increases that I'm proposing, like I said, it would cost less to increase my salaries than it would to hire a new employee. The amount that I came up with is $33,624.16, and like I said, I am different than all the other offices because I have the ability to adjust my collection fees. So it would be a minimal cost to the county to do this.
Dawn, how many entities do you collect for?
19.
And is this going to be the first year that you're going to collect from them for creating or for completing
Tax.
their tax rate calculation?
Yes. Yes.
How much additional revenue is that going to bring in?
I don't calculate for all 19 of them. I'd have to get that number.
But that would be additional revenue that the county currently is not getting, correct?
Correct.
And that's at $750 each?
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't mind sending me that, I'm curious to know what that is.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all gonna let me off the hook easy? Okay.
For what it's worth, just so I've already done all of the revenue data entry, I think I let y'all know that. Just to let you know, I'm backing her numbers on the increase in workload because the revenue is there to prove it. In our tax and auto commissions, we are well above the revenue that was budgeted based on last year's numbers. So I anticipate that revenue being even greater in the new fiscal year. So I'm budgeting for more money in the new fiscal year because we are already over and beyond what we budgeted for this year's revenue. And that's in the tax, auto, and the Texas Parks and Wildlife. I just wanted to throw that out there when we're talking about revenue.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Dawn. All right, Cindy Stafford, Wilson County Emergency Management.
Good afternoon. I'm 0523 Scott, if you want to flip over.
That's what we need to do, start telling everybody.
Your, my budget line item, so you don't have to flip, yeah. Okay, so I have
Give it to me
three,
again.
0523.
0523.
Unless you want to give me
I'll check
another
your
one,
math and
I
make
can do. We're not doing math, we're not doing math. So I do have 3 budget adjustments after Scott turns. Okay, the first one is my vehicle equipment fuel line item. I originally requested 17,000, and I'm requesting to actually bump that up to 26,000. The reason being is that's where I'm budgeting to buy the 7,800 megahertz radio for the communications trailer. It's not really a vehicle line item, but I don't have a line item to really put the communications trailer stuff.
Okay, let's go back then. So I want to keep that separate. So I think the request should be to add an additional line item for the communication
That would be,
request of the radio and keep the fuel separate, 2 separate things.
that would be great, yeah. I just didn't know where to put it since there is nothing about the communications trailer in my budget, because
You're looking to new line item for $9,000.
so it's a minimum of 9,000 if we do one Harris radio, which we're not crazy about Harris. If we go with the Motorola, it is And I'm sorry, these quotes didn't come in until last minute, but the Motorola radios are 15,000, so I can go with the Harris. They're both interoperable with our 7800 series, so either way. So then we can leave the vehicle where it was at and just create a new one to buy the radio. If we want a radio in the communications trailer, if we don't, then we will just not have a radio in the communications trailer.
Okay, can we go back to fuel? I want to do one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so going back to the fuel, your current budget right now is 14,000. And you're requesting that to go up to
Just 17.
17,000, but you've only spent 9,000 year to date.
Yes, but, so I went from one vehicle to two. And so that's tires, oil changes.
just fuel.
We're talking about just fuel.
Because you're,
That says vehicle, mine says equipment and fuel.
No, so you've got two separate line items. You've got one for fuel, which is line item
4342.
4342 is vehicle fuel. That means vehicle and equipment fuel. See, it says vehicle / equipment fuel.
So do you want the tires under maintenance or parts and repairs? I mean, 3 line items for vehicles is,
No, we have one line item for fuel. We have one line item for vehicle maintenance, which is
and then I have another one for parts and repairs.
Registrations and,
correct, registration,
Oil
tires.
change,
Oil
yeah.
changes, correct.
Yeah.
because I mean,
Which
I'm
is 43,
struggling with your
41.
fuel because I know I probably spend the least in fuel of all of these
Mm-hmm.
guys, and I've only spent 30,000 total, and I'm, you
Well,
know,
I was including more than just fuel in that line item, so if we're moving
You
it
have
around.
you have fuel, which is
Right.
4342. You've got vehicle maintenance, which is 4340, so that's tires, oil changes, et cetera. And then you have vehicle repairs, so a transmission goes out, that's not
Right.
maintenance, and that's not fuel, that's
Right.
a repair.
So what I'm saying is, under the 4342, that was larger because I was envisioning tires, so I have 2 trailers and 2 vehicles. Actually, I have 3 trailers, I apologize. I have the communications trailer, I have the gooseneck trailer that my PPE is stored in, and I now have it's a CERT trailer, but we are storing all of the cot supplies in it. So I have 3 vehicles, trailers with tires, so I don't want to go over budget. So that was, I put it in that one, so we can move some of that money over to 4340.
would you call the radio small equipment?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, just ask for it in that line item.
Right, that's
But
fine.
the numbers that are here, we're all used to dealing with in our budget. It's uniform across the board on, we unfortunately know those all too well.
And we keep them where they need to be, in the buckets where they need to be, because that's the data that we need when we're determining if we need to replace a vehicle, or we know, okay, on this vehicle, we've had to repair it 5 different times, so that's going on the out
That one.
list. So
Yeah.
we can't just throw stuff like tires or whatever in the fuel bucket, because then it's not giving us a true picture of what the fuel is being spent on. So
Okay.
then I guess going back to Commissioner, I mean, if we're looking at your fuel, we budgeted $14,000 for fuel, and I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm not there.
wind up at 10, well, actually, probably.
Well, I'm looking, the only thing that's not fuel that I can see on the journal is Rocky Mountain Communication System. Everything else is fuel.
Yeah,
So-
and that was actually a radio too, so that could have been coded to a different line item.
That was 2,500.
Right, that's a handheld radio. And so, and in that 17, I was putting my second handheld radio in there, so that doesn't need to go on that line item either. So I mean, if, I would have never put the radio in office equipment, so, but,
No, not office equipment. You have a line item that's small equipment, which is 43.
29.
yeah, well, 2,000, then we just need to move it from one line item to the other, because $2,000 isn't even one handheld.
So, I know, but that's your current budget. You need to take your worksheet back and make sure you allocate all of the line items to the appropriate lines.
Right,
So
well, that's what I thought I was doing, so I apologize. Well, I'll get with you afterwards.
Well, no, you just need to put your equipment to where equipment goes, fuel to
So-
where fuel goes, maintenance where it goes, and then give me the new worksheet.
It's just presented odd. The way that it reads out in here, it says vehicle/equipment, and it says dash fuel. Well,
It's not
I can see
equipment, it's
how,
fuel.
you know, and I mean, we all had to learn how to do it.
Equipment.
Right, fuel, and I
So
mean,
like for your generator, for your car, for your portable
It's just
generator,
confusing.
for
I mean, when
your-
you say equipment, it's
fuel.
equipment. But equipment's
last
not
word,
fuel,
the
fuel's
fuel.
not equipment, so.
Fuel.
Yeah, we'll iron it out. The office equipment was the other one. I increased it from 15 to 2,000. That's because Kenny does not have a computer. My assistant emergency manager is working off of an Office Surface Pro. He needs a computer. He doesn't need to continue to work off of that. The third thing was the public notification and alerts, which was the 4522. That one I increased because I took on the second ESRI 911 addressing license that will be moved from the development department into my department. So I now have the 2 licenses for the county for 911 addressing. So that's where that cost change was. Something for the building maintenance, just for budgeting, is we need the second of our 3 ACs replaced, and those are $93.50 according to Brian Heating and Air.
That does not go in, that department budget, that goes into our building maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah. I was just told to note it on here, so it got put in somewhere. And then the last thing I have is also not really my budget, but consideration, the can of worms, the fire marshal position. I'm bringing it up because I was told that our contract with District 1 was a temporary fix, not a permanent fix. If y'all want to make it a permanent fix, not my decision. I was just told to make sure it gets brought back up. Whether we hire part-time, full-time, put them under the sheriff because they're TCOLOs, put them under me. For me, fire marshal is just fire inspections, or I'm sorry, fire investigations, like when we have the explosion, I have to call in the state fire marshal's office. That's pretty much all I have to do with
First
that.
time I've heard that it was a temporary fix. I thought we had a contract agreement with them.
Chief Thompson told me, and I have it in an email, and I'm not gonna go into all that. He said this, contracting with them was a temporary fix, not a permanent solution.
Well, that's not our understanding.
I know he
Our understanding was
contacted
to be a
everybody. I know he did.
long-term Relationship for them to do this, and that's
So-
what they were gearing up to do, so.
We can roll into that with her, 'cause like I said, for emergency management, my only tie to the fire marshal is fire investigations and accidents. The rest of it directly affects Luce and the development department, so I'll let her answer any other questions, or, I know she has some comments.
Yeah, just to step in on that, all the fire inspections are coming through my office right now. They're really hard to keep up with. I mean, we're trying to keep up with development. We're trying to keep up with driveways, with all the other permits. But when it comes to health inspections, our health inspector keeps track of all those inspections. We don't have someone that keeps track of fire inspections. We don't have someone that calls and says, hey, it's time for your second inspection of your sprinkler system. Even when they come in and they pull permits for fire inspections, we don't charge them for everything that needs to be inspected because we don't have the education for it. You know, we don't know. I can sit down and I can read the fire code all I want. You know, I'm trying to sink in all the information from development and all the laws and regulations that apply to that. So I can read the fire code over and over. I still don't know what's all needed of a commercial building to be up to date. It also, the fire code also says that we have a building code. It bases itself off a building code that we do not have. So if we had a fire marshal, they would have a commission. Not only would we make more money off of the fire inspections, you know, for commercial buildings, they would always also have a commission that would help us out with a lot of health and safety issues that we don't know how to address. We don't have teeth for it. People call us all the time. We really can't do anything about it, you know? And these complaints just fall on deaf ears. So if we did have a fire marshal, you know, that would all fall under their department. And I'm not saying they'd have to be under my department. I think it should be a department of its own.
Okay, I get that point, but I want to go back to that agreement that we had with ESD, and it was, they said, hey, don't go out and do this, we'll contract with you and do it for you. I remember that vividly.
I've never seen the contract.
Yeah, I did ask Evelyn to see that contract. I just wanted to see what the scope of work.
MOU, we had some understanding when that we signed off on with them. I'll have to go back and check which court that was in. That was my understanding. It was like, don't go out and do that. We can provide those services for you on a contract.
I just want to know what all the scope of their services is. Is it just the actual inspections, or is it
And
the
not too long
tracking?
ago, he brought us a fee schedule to do all that stuff. What I'm wondering is if there's not a lack of communication that he
Yes.
doesn't know that y'all are waiting for him or need his assistance with those things. That's what I'm kind of thinking right now, because he talked about getting all of his people properly certified. I think he had most of what he needed, but there was a couple.
Two people that were qualified to do it.
Right. And then he brought us a fee schedule that we approved.
But those permits still come through my department, and they still have to be tracked. And it's
And
still
that's-
administrative issues.
Right. But
That are falling on me or on us, on my department, that we're not qualified to.
So it sounds like the confusion is everything's coming through the permits department, but we're asking DS1 to take care of it, but.
Right. but
And if they
it
could
may
take
be
care of
that
the
y'all need to
administration,
get
that
it
would
and
be
log it
great.
in and do whatever y'all need to do and then send it to them. I think
Which is what we do, but which is what we do now, but we have to stay on top of when is your next inspection. You know, you've already gone through this phase of construction, now this is time for this other inspection. That's just stuff, if they would offer to take all that on, that would be great. That would be, you pull the permits for our inspection through them, they can better assist you, they can better answer your questions, rather than me and Maddie standing there with a blank face,
And here's one thing I ask about that. Are they now a permit department or are they a fire department? Because they're gonna have to hire more people to take home more permits. There's a lot to this discussion. We just had an explosion the other day, so who stayed behind for that, I was there. We had to call a fire marshal in. So I'm not a fireman, I've never done it.
And that's just something to take into consideration. I believe there would be plenty of, revenue coming back in to be able to, afford the
We
position.
probably need to have a discussion with the chief and see what he wants to do.
You can talk.
And to kind of address that, it's just like you said, you called out the state fire marshal's office. Well, really and truly, they are educated in different disciplines. They're not firefighters first. They are usually peace officers first, because they are dealing with codes and enforcements. And so I don't know if this is in part because we did have District 1 tell us that they had one or two individuals that were certified to do it. But, having those individuals available whenever these permits come through may be an issue for them. I don't know. We'll just have to find out, but
Rules have changed, though, that they don't have to be TCO certified.
Right.
I mean, it helps because if they're gonna end up doing an arrest, let's say they're gonna go into an argument.
And the ticketing
Or
side of it.
citing.
They can also take one of the deputies with them over there, and that can be that arm of the law enforcement part of it.
And I did call in the state fire marshal because I'd never seen the contract. I didn't know if we were contracted with District 1 to do fire investigations, which is a whole nother side.
Good call, don't worry about
That was a whole nother side of than what she deals with, so we're kind of looking at it in two different.
I think our
realms.
agreement is not for him to be the fire marshal. He was
then
to
I
do the
said that.
fire inspections for
Just that
the fire code stuff is what we've talked about now. Now, if it needs to be that, actually, I don't think he can be a fire marshal, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think Chris has his peace officer
They
certification, does he?
can do fire investigations now through TFFMA, and they can actually do certain citations with consideration with what the sheriff tells them, but it's only fire stuff. I mean, they're not gonna
Right.
go write a citation
exactly.
for something else. So if the contract, like I said, which I haven't seen, allows for us to contract with District 1 to do fire inspections and fire investigations, we can do that. Since I didn't know, I didn't feel comfortable calling somebody that, could get the county in some type of liability, because they're really not who we're supposed to be calling for fire investigations.
we need to find out the intent because, like you said, we approved a fee schedule for work. 6 months ago, 5 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
Beginning of the year, it seems like, something like that.
yeah.
I thought it was closer to the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
We passed the IFC in the beginning of the year, and then about 2 months ago, we passed the new fee schedule. The fee schedule bases itself on valuation of buildings, and we're only applying it to commercial buildings at this time.
Right.
So I just want to, on this MOU that the county has with ESD one, was there an agreed upon price that the county was supposed to pay like annually or for the 6 months? Or was it just, because I see that we've, since this year alone, December, January, February, March, and April. So we have paid different rates, but I just need to know for budgeting purposes, if we're not gonna hire our own fire marshal, what is it that we need to budget to pay ESD one for whatever they're supposed to be doing?
Well, but she should be collecting that fees, so there should be something in her department, probably to me seems to be the right clearinghouse for those inspections that are required.
Yeah, I mean, the permits they're all going through my department.
So, yeah, I think we need to have a meeting with the chief present. We're sitting here, we're just spinning our wheels, talking about what we think happened, but we need him here, and we need to ask him some questions and get that figured out,
Yeah,
straightened out.
because I'm budgeting the revenue for city fire inspections in the new budget, but if that's all, if we need to budget an expense from the county, then I need to know what that.
The expense would probably be whatever the revenue is,
And that's the other thing is,
because he's the one that developed that fee schedule, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So that's what he's saying they would charge us, so. And actually, in retrospect now, I mean, in the next time we adopt it, we probably ought to add 5 or 10% to that for you to have somebody to process it and.
Unless they want to do it, they can do it. If they want to take it off our hands, I'm okay with that.
which is good and bad because that loses our revenue at the same time.
Yes.
But it's a wash, so, I mean, it's just like the collection facility. You spend 10,000, you make 10,000, you know. It doesn't really matter. But she's right. If we got revenue, then we need to account for it. And if there's an expense, we need to account for it. In that case, it should pretty much be a wash.
So, okay, I just pulled up one of their invoices. So they're charging us a monthly fee for 911 addressing services.
That's different.
They don't do that anymore.
That was,
we were augmenting
That's what I thought.
salary, right, for one of the firemen?
This is completely different.
that was a temporary thing that.
Okay,
We're not
well,
using them
I'm saying
anymore.
Temporary, so I thought that's what y'all were referring to.
We've hired an employee for GIS.
Employee actually hired.
All right.
So there was an
my bad.
employee hired in what, March-ish?
Okay, so
We're just in July.
scratch mine. Okay, so that has nothing to do with it. Okay, never mind. I just want to make sure.
Maybe April, yeah. Okay.
The other thing that I was gonna ask for my department is definitely for, to lease vehicles. You know, right now, we're just throwing a whole bunch of money into the sheriff's
Yes, we
hand-me-downs.
on the list for.
So as long as we're in consideration for that,
Say
Then we're
again,
good.
What were you asking for?
for vehicles, to lease vehicles.
Oh, they're on the list, okay.
Yeah, as long as we're considered in that, we're good.
Okay.
That was my other request. Is that it?
Thank you, ladies. Cindy, I just want to make sure I go back to confirm your request. So you're request to increase small equipment for a radio and communications trailer, and then requesting for consideration of fire marshal position. And then you're going to revamp your budget and send it to me with the appropriate.
I don't want to request the fire marshal. I was just bringing it up for consideration because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Not for my budget. It's not an emergency management position. It's kind of like the AC unit, just throwing it out there.
One quick question I need to ask you about that 700 megahertz. we already have interoperability with the sheriff's office, right? Through
Yes, sir.
radio? So what does that radio do?
I don't have a radio in the communications trailer. They're all UHF, VHFs that was in there.
So we
10 years,
don't
15
have
years.
communications with the sheriff's department in the command post?
No, sir. I have my handheld radio,
Just a handheld?
and that's mine. So I have a handheld. Kenny has a handheld, and we take it on scene. So the trailer right now has no 7,800 capacities at all. It actually has a Marine radio in there. And I don't know how much of the other radios even work, because they were stolen out 3-4 years ago.
Did
And
you
I
say
don't,
stolen?
when the trailer was parked at Stockdale VFD, and somebody broke into it.
Probably got your
Remember that?
radios too.
Yeah, we got your radios. It's okay. You can have these. And so, yeah, so there's no communications outside of here. So ultimately, I think in the next 3 years, the plan was to put one in a year, but since they're $15,000 a piece, I was trying to
confused
be,
on that. I think you do need a permanent radio in there. I mean,
we do. I mean, if not, we'll just keep using our handheld and use it as a cooling station.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Any other questions? I didn't mean to run off. Okay. Thank you.
Do you want me to break? We're about halfway through. Do you want to keep going?
Halfway?
Halfway?
Halfway? No, we're more than halfway.
No, because we have some that have shown up that have not signed up yet.
Yeah, I need,
Is there anybody else in here who has not signed up that needs to speak?
10-minute recess?
Dawn, I see you on here. Are you speaking? I'm sorry?
I signed it.
You did?
Yeah, well, since she made a copy for everybody.
Go ahead, sir.
So we take a break.
The Apple Watch said, time to stand up, and then it died. Didn't get on the charger last night the way it was